Travis been good, Sal. I guess we can do a go back to the courts with you, as I got the response from the acceptance of my case back, so that answers some of my questions that I had. And so I can now have an excuse for why I'm not doing the presentation of further evidence in the case today. I've also been watching Bull on the Side, and they talked about how discovery presents the evidence. I'm not seeing that anywhere in the law. I'm seeing the evidentiary hearing with the presentation of a list of evidence prior to that evidentiary hearing, which gives the defense time to claim not guilty until they see the evidence and go, oh crap, we want to make a deal. Is there any way we can make a deal? Is there somebody else above President Nelson he can rat on to save his life and save the church? No. But first, before we open those letters, it appears the Democrat committee finally has stood up to Burgess Owens, former Oakland Raiders football player and church fireside speaker who I got to sit next to on my New York mission in Connecticut, in Steve Young's parents' home ward at New Canaan ward, and yeah, they're going after him for his Burgess Owens doesn't really support the Republican Party agenda. He just does it because he knows that's the only way he's going to win. I'm kind of disappointed that he's selling out his soul in order to win. That's not how you do things. But apparently he must be hurting if he has to run for office after being a pro football player, and a famous one at that. But it's sad when you're compromised. Not too many people would allow the enemy to destroy them. Most conform and comply to the compromise and take away the high priesthood so that Mormons can't be exalted, take away the home teaching program so that when the coronavirus struck, there would be no phone chain of communication to keep people in operation. Okay, so yeah, this first letter is the one that allows me to proceed in forma pauperis. And okay, this is Jared C. Bennett's signature. Okay, I am going to have to address in this upcoming submission of further evidence about not just the confession and some of the other stuff I've been mentioning I need to do, and I took a note on it so I don't have to worry if I forgot one of them. But it also needs to address the evidence that in their church's motion to dismiss last time, because you know they're going to do it again. You know that's what they're going to do. And that literally is a threat to the judges, saying, side with us or we will cause suffering to you like we did Judge First. So, this is interesting. This doesn't fit the normal pattern. Notice of electronic filing. Are they going to make me pay from now on? Or is this small print? Okay. Yeah, it's small print. Yeah, this is my original filing and approved for procedure. Okay. Giving me the case number at the top. 220? Isn't it 920? Am I still getting it wrong? Yeah, they're saying 220. It's 920 for September, not February. Hold on, let me verify. So the 20 is for the year 2020. The first number is supposed to be for the month in which it was filed, and it was filed in 9. So it's under good cell now. They took out the previous one, which I found through Travis Wayne Goodsell. September 9th. It is. Why is it a 2? Is it because District 2 for the Central District? Alright. So that's good to know, so that I don't put the wrong number. But February? Well, let me check my other one then. I think it was, wasn't it? It was 219 CV. Okay. How am I supposed to know which month? Alrighty. So, yeah, we're starting to follow the same pattern now. After the 2 weeks vacation time, Jared. He went to Jared. And so now we have the order granting motion and complaint filed. And so, yeah, then it took 10 days before I filed the motion for service of process. And then the judge just said, nope, not going to do it. Well, she didn't say anything. She just didn't do it. So, yippee-ki-yay. So, 220. And I do remember doing a video where I thought that was the wrong one because I thought, well, it must be for the month, right? Nope. No, it means 2. So I guess that's Central District is number 2, Northern is 1, Southern is 3. I don't know. Or maybe Utah is designated as 2. I would assume that would have been in the other numbers, like the 007 or 6 in this case. So, yeah, alrighty. I'll do a reading. Maybe I should provide another reading playlist. I've already got a billion playlists. It takes forever to go through them to find out which ones apply to which videos. Sometimes I just get lazy and just click them all. Or click none. Travis Wayne Goodsell. I finished the second draft. And I'm hearing on Nicole Wallace's show today, right now, about how Trump knew that this virus was a bad one. And yet he's done what he's done. Wait till you get a load of this lawsuit. Okay, so this is the main body portion. So the name of the defendant, corporation of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints et al. is a corporation of Salt Lake City, Utah. Corporate structure: CEO, also called President of the Church. First Presidency contains the CEO and 2 counselors. Board of Directors, also called Quorum of 12 Apostles, with a President of the Quorum. Presiding Bishopric: General Quorum of 70, with 7 presidents. Other offices in the corporation and in the religion are held by Mormons called members, in the sense of chattel, having no say in the operations of the corporation. Succession of the CEO was established in their 1923 Articles of Incorporation, in which the President of the Quorum of the 12 automatically succeeds. See attached Defendants Administration chart with the American Crime Organization chart. I have a list of stuff to make sure I add those. As a corporation and the dominant religion of the state of Utah, their influence and control are vast, as Mormons and Utahns are subject to the defendant's dominion. Mormons therefore act as soldiers for the defendant, and Utahns are extorted as associates for the defendant, either willingly or unwillingly. As such, there were soldiers and associates of the defendant who acted under the authority or color of federal, state, and local law. Nature of the case. The plaintiff has filed a previous complaint against the same defendant, 219 CV 00711 CW, also under RICO conspiracy for actions by the defendant that began in 2008. The plaintiff filed a state petition for a redress of grievances against the defendant. The state of Utah refused to accept the plaintiff's complaint and countersued on behalf of the defendant, with the intent to disappear the plaintiff in the state hospital without ever going to trial. Dr. Cohn was the evaluating psychologist who manufactured a history of mental illness for the plaintiff, and the plaintiff was incarcerated for 6 years. Plaintiff later learned the defendant had been paying Dr. Cohn. Upon returning to society, the plaintiff was discharged from his mental health care provider, Valley Behavioral Health, and was moved to independent living housing as an independent individual. While still on Social Security disability, with a forced payee service, GCS, Guardian and Conservatorial Services, as Valley Behavioral Health refused to notify Social Security that the plaintiff can be his own payee. In 2018, the landlord, Valley Behavioral Health, started getting paid differently from Optum and desired to turn the plaintiff's residence into assisted living type 2, requiring the plaintiff to return to Valley Behavioral Health as a client and resume drugging, which almost took the life of the plaintiff in 2015. The plaintiff refused, and Valley Behavioral Health sent wave after wave of caseworkers to threaten the plaintiff and to force his return to assisted living. Finally, in 2019, the West Valley City Police Department arranged for the plaintiff to believe he was independent, but keep Percy James Pearson as an assisted living caseworker in the building's office. Soon thereafter, the plaintiff's air unit caused severe breathing problems for the plaintiff, as mold had built up from property management's negligence in regular maintenance. The brand new property manager refused to fix the air unit for the whole summer and into the fall, when the plaintiff's lease was up for renewal. The air unit itself was not replaced until earlier this year in 2020, when a fan blade broke off, but mold spores remaining, causing confusion for the plaintiff as to whether or not he is having an allergy attack or symptoms of coronavirus. The problems encountered for the plaintiff by the landlord and property manager are a direct consequence of Dr. Cohn's manufactured history of mental illness of the plaintiff, and so the plaintiff was forced to file a complaint in the federal courts as a pro se litigant under informa pauperis as no other agency would do their job to assist the plaintiff. The plaintiff had caught the defendant paying Dr. Cohn, and after informing Judge First on 1 November 2019's hearing to dismiss the plaintiff's complaint, the plaintiff was granted to amend his complaint. The defendant found out and then got caught trying to cover up their payments to Dr. Cohn. The plaintiff would eventually have his complaint dismissed with prejudice, despite lawfully winning, as everyone involved for this one case either forgot how to do their jobs or were purposely negligent. Knowing the identity of the defendant, it is obvious the answer is the latter. The plaintiff has since learned that the judges and courts tampering in the plaintiff's complaint resulted in his ability to file proper appeals or judicial complaints with the 10th Circuit Court in Colorado, and therefore files this petition for a redress of grievances. Cause of action, count 1. 18 U.S.C. 1512. This is tampering with a federal case or investigation. Judge Clark Waddups was assigned to the plaintiff's complaint filed 30th September 2019, despite his affiliation with the defendant and the temple loyalty oaths required over loyalty to the United States, the Constitution, and to the federal court. He refused to recuse himself, even after the plaintiff motioned for his recusal. He then went on to assign Judge First, who had just been terminated from the bench and had been recused of all her cases, including another case against the defendant. Count 2, same USC code. Judge Evelyn First had been terminated as a magistrate judge and recused from all her cases before being assigned by Judge Waddups to the plaintiff's complaint, filed 30th September 2019. She held a hearing on 1 November 2019 to dismiss the plaintiff's complaint. After granting the plaintiff to amend his complaint, Judge First remained silent the rest of her term on the bench. She did not order summons requiring the plaintiff to file a waiver of summons. She did not order the defendant to pay the $2. I want my $2, for not responding to the waiver of summons. And she did not report and recommend final judgment on behalf of the plaintiff for default of the defendant. Count 3, same claim. Clerks of the court ordered the plaintiff to wait for Judge First to order the service of the complaint, which order never came. The clerks of the court failed to post the plaintiff's counter-reply, and the defendant's failure to return the waiver of summons and their default for not filing a proper motion upon being properly served. Count 4, same complaint. Upon Judge First's last day on the bench, Judge Waddups assigned the brand new hired magistrate judge Daphne Oberg to the plaintiff's complaint. Because the clerks of the court did not file the plaintiff's counter-reply, Judge Oberg wrongfully assumed the plaintiff filed in default, failing to recognize there was no service filed on the defendant. Judge Oberg went on a denial of the plaintiff's motions, going back to do the work that Judge First failed to do. Judge Oberg refused to acknowledge these violations of the law and court process and reported and recommended on behalf of the defendant for dismissal with prejudice. Upon Judge Oberg's submission of her report and recommendation, she was immediately rewarded with other new assignments. Count 5, same complaint. Defense counsel never returned the waiver of summons to the plaintiff so that it could be filed with the court. Instead, the defendant was involved in the stock market sell-off in March, was caught covering up payments to Dr. Cohn, and intentionally hesitating to shut down their business and religious practice places of worship in direct defiance of all warnings from health professionals, as the defendant's CEO is himself a world-renowned medical doctor and surgeon, resulting in the contribution to the escalation and prolonging of the coronavirus pandemic. Then, as the virus was still escalating in Utah, the CEO began reopening of businesses and religious places of worship. Count 6, same complaint. Property manager Samantha Hansen for Danville Development, a partner with landlord Valley Behavioral Health, both of whom were listed in the plaintiff's complaint as co-conspirators, after the plaintiff had served the defense counsel with the waiver of summons, issued the first of 2 eviction notices to the plaintiff on Friday the 13th of March 2020. Friday the 13th. The second eviction notice was presented to the plaintiff after Judge Oberg's report and recommendation against the plaintiff. Neither the property management, nor the landlord were properly licensed for the past year. The landlord is demonstrating a persistent pattern of lawless abuse as a healthcare provider by seeking to cover up their failure to renew their healthcare license for the previous year by renewing it after being informed by the plaintiff of their illegal actions, demonstrating their determination to break the law to turn the independent living facility of the plaintiff into assisted living type 2. The landlord is also collecting rent as a still unlicensed renter, and as the pattern shows, they will lay in wait to attack the plaintiff in the future as his lease is up in November 2020. Count 7, same claim. CEO Russell M. Nelson, after the plaintiff filed notification to Judge Waddups. I did inform you this is RICO, right? 18 U.S.C. 1512. I hope I did. Just wondering if I even did that. Russell M. Nelson, CEO Russell M. Nelson, after the plaintiff filed notification to Judge Waddups about the defendant's temple loyalty oath changes Nelson made to the law of chastity, allowing for the return of polygamy, for which the defendant was disincorporated under the Edmunds-Tucker Act, replied with a public statement that the temple loyalty oaths were changed again, though the public has not been informed if the allowance for polygamy was removed. The plaintiff's complaint had included 2 counts of bigamy after the plaintiff filed notification to Judge Waddups about the defendant's affiliation with the Illuminati, the first United States domestic terrorist organization. With the submission, is this the right place for this? I think so. Yeah, because I did notify him about the inverted pentagram, so yeah. After the plaintiff, this is another, pay attention, there's more to come. After the plaintiff filed notification to Judge Waddups about the defendant's affiliation with the Illuminati, the first United States terrorist organization, the first terrorist organization against the United States. After the plaintiff filed notification to Judge Waddups about the defendant's affiliation with the Illuminati, the first terrorist organization against the United States, with the submission of the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the arch of the door of the Salt Lake Temple and on the foundation stone of the Ark of the Seagull Gate at Temple Square on State Street, the defendant The defendant, 2 weeks later, released a statement that Jeffrey R. Holland of the Quorum of the 12 had taken ill immediately after his Monday morning interview and his notification by defense counsel of the plaintiff's notification. Count 8, again RICO. I didn't make that clear in the beginning, or I messed up with the wrong. Utah Governor Gary Herbert, a known Mormon, blatantly disregarded all medical professional warnings by hesitating to shut down the state and instead adhered to the national executive's misinformation and disinformation, causing escalation of the coronavirus with controlled daily testing to justify controlled daily and faulty testing to justify the number of new cases rather than percentages, to reopen too early when the escalation was worse than when Utah was finally shut down. Individuals in key positions were fired so that adherence to the national executive for herd immunity could continue, and as Governor Herbert himself declared at his weekly briefings, it was his intention to get Mormons back to church. Governor Herbert's actions have resulted in not only an escalation of the virus, but an indefinite prolonging of the virus. Various local Utah news stations reported around 1,000 Utah students who were quarantined, but those numbers were never reported on the state's coronavirus reporting, which would have made the week of 30 August 2020 to 5th September 2020 at 17.25%, which is well into the red zone for the state of Utah. Because of Governor Herbert's manipulation of the virus stats and fraudulent claims that Utah is in yellow and green, Utahns and Mormons are protesting the mandate to wear masks, claiming if there is no more threat from the virus, then the wearing of masks is no longer necessary. Governor Herbert has warned of the consequences of not adhering to medical professionals. Was warned, but persisted with actions of a pattern of lawless abuse that has cost Utahns their lives just to tamper with the plaintiff's case to protect the defendant. Count 9, is this correct? I did a copy and paste, so there may be some 7, 6, 5, okay, good. So count 9, 18 USC 113B. Terrorism. The founder of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Joseph Smith, started the organization in response to the first terrorist threat to the new United States of America by the Illuminati, formed by Johann Adam Weishaupt on 1 May 1776. Their symbol was the falling star, or inverted pentagram for Lucifer, the Latin word for the planet Venus, in the Latin Vulgate translation of the Bible for use in Isaiah 14:12, which is also used in the Book of Mormon of the Founder. The keystone of the LDS Church history is the place of Canandaigua, New York, with the connection of Captain William Morgan, Joseph Smith Sr., as the Master Mason of the York Rite Freemason Lodge, and Heber C. Kimball, whose Wikipedia page article on his masonry is completely contrary to truth. From that 1826 American history event called the Anti-Mason Movement came the Book of Mormon of the Smiths organization, which gives the latter-day date for when the Illuminati would strike again in America. The Doctrine and Covenants, section 45, verse 31, exposes the weapon to be used by the Illuminati. The defendant originates from the terrorist Illuminati as they murdered the founder and his brother, took over leadership claiming true succession, but using the Illuminati symbols as signs to other Illuminati. on the Nauvoo Temple, the Salt Lake and Logan Temples, and on the Seagull Gate Arch on State Street at Temple Square. The defendant has been a sleeper cell all these decades. The defendant's violation of health professionals' warnings is the fulfillment of this premeditated, planned viral attack on the United States of America, as Governor Herbert is also complicit. Count 10. Need to make that darker, I believe. Okay. 18 USC 115. Treason, sedition, and subversive activities. By using a viral weapon, the defendant and their soldiers and associates, as Native American citizens, have committed the act of treason with the intention to destroy America and its Constitution and restore a monarchy over a conquered nation. Injury. The lawless actions committed by the defendant and their co-conspirators place the life, liberty, and property of the plaintiff in great jeopardy. The dismissal of the previous complaint keeps the fraudulent identification of mentally disabled upon the plaintiff, as his landlord attempted to evict the plaintiff in retaliation during a viral pandemic. The defendant and their soldiers and associates will never leave the plaintiff alone, as was why a petition for grievances was necessary. The defendant is in financial ruin, all because the defendant is threatened by the plaintiff's support for the founder, Joseph Smith Jr., as a translator, as the defendant is fraudulently representing themselves as the true successors, when in reality are a branch of the original terrorist group against the United States. The plaintiff's life is in great jeopardy for exposing the defendant, as the plaintiff struggles with censorship and attacks, even death threats online. And at his residence. The influence and control of the defendant is worldwide, and thus the plaintiff will be retaliated against for the rest of his life if the defendant is allowed to continue to exist. This is a new filing based upon actions committed against the plaintiff for a previous filing. As such, this is the formal appropriate relief sought. Request for relief. As no amount of money damages can compensate for the injury done to the plaintiff, the organization does not belong to the defendant, as they obtained it fraudulently. The plaintiff therefore seeks a vesting of title of the defendant's corporation to the plaintiff, as would best secure the rights, life, liberty, and property of the plaintiff. A RICO, terrorist and treason criminal case would need to be processed to ensure better security and safety in vesting title to the plaintiff. And then signed on yesterday, because I thought I was going to have it done yesterday until the end of the world happened. And so, let's see, I need this, I need this, I don't need any of this. This is all old material. Alrighty, so then I'll print this out, and scan it back in as a PDF, as all one document, and submit it to the courts. And we're almost at 3 p.m. You'll be seeing this after I file, and we'll go from there.
I have faith that the Constitution will be saved as prophesied by Joseph Smith. But it will not be saved in Washington.
Are you ready? I'm not afraid. You will be. You will be.
Damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Travis Wayne Goodsell. I'm have proceeded with the additional evidence submission in the case before I serve the church, and have stumbled across something of significance. I'm just going to go back and check my old case from just last year, at the end of last year. Wow. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Oh, very interesting. Okay, so, yeah, wow, let me fill you in. Remember how I thought that the magistrate judge was going to be Jared C. Bennett? Well, that's only for the initial filing, or at least the determination for the sealed document for my motion to leave to proceed in forma pauperis. The chief judge, David Barlow, recused himself, so the case got reassigned to Judge Bruce S. Jenkins for all further proceedings. And apparently Waddups was the one who assigned, signed by Judge Waddups. Number 5 on my old case, order referring case to Magistrate Judge Evelyn J. Furse, under 228-636 B1B, magistrate to handle case up to and including R&R on all dispositive matters. Motions referred to Evelyn J. Furse. Signed by Judge Clark Waddups on 10/15/2019. And so this one does not have that, because the case was approved on the 1st of October, and then I filed the motion for service of process on the 11th of October, because I wasn't sure what was going on. And so that was when I was able to travel all the way downtown and talk to somebody in person, who were not wanting to be cooperative. Don't you dare go against the church, Travis. They're innocent, even if they're guilty. It's wrong to sue the church, even if the lawsuit is correct. If you don't remember Oakes. Oh, dear God. So, it's wrong to criticize the brethren, even when the criticism is correct. And that was a BBC interview documentary. And so here, there is none of that. Judge Jared C. Bennett is going to take, Judge Bruce S. Jenkins, by not recusing himself, is going to handle the case. So that's going to help me make sure I word this additional evidence correctly, As David Barlow immediately recognized, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want the church hovering over me and my membership and my career. So, but Bruce S. Jenkins, he's 93, he doesn't care. The question is he going to be a wad-ups? He's handling it himself. Okay, so yeah, that's the additional information here. When I finish this, I will obviously do a reading to make sure it's edited properly, and proceed to email it before you guys hear about it. Just in case somebody watching has access to shut down my power or internet service or whatever, so that you can't do it. Of course, by saying that now, yeah, I mean, this is serious stuff, guys. So yeah, the additional evidence is the first one. I'll give you a clue as to the first one. Signed confession of guilt and admission of ongoing crime by co-conspirator Samantha Hansen, property manager of Danville Development for Valley Behavioral Health. That's the weakest of the evidence. So, yeah, this is going to be fun.
I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
You will be. You will be. Are you ready?
Damn you! God damn you all to hell!
Travis Wingoodsell, we're closing in on 4:30, and I still don't have the full evidence finished. This was longer than I thought. There was a ton of evidence that I'm going to be submitting, not just to the landlord, because I mean, it was horrifying. As I went over it paragraph by paragraph, I realized how much more she was confessing to, how much more crimes, and man, I had to actually pull out all the evidence that I've been saving, and I told them, I've saved the evidence, guys. You don't want to do this to me. You guys need to cease and desist. But nope. So yeah, I again saw in her letter the threat that we will do this again to you. That's our modus operandi. God. That's sad. Alright, so let's see, I'm guessing it's additional evidence motion. Yes, it is. So Bruce S. Jenkins is the guy who wants to handle it himself this time. Not going to have a magistrate judge interfere and cause problems again. So that's interesting in and of itself, but yeah. So I've listed them in Roman numerals. The first one is for the landlord and her signed submission of guilt and confession of continual crime against me. And so that, let's see, wow. That goes into, I did it Roman numerals first, and then A's for subsections, and then 1, 2, and 3 for subsections. And so I have E, F, so I go all the way down to F for just a landlord. And then Roman numeral 2, this is about correcting the previously submitted evidence I titled incorrectly as the Seagull Gate Temple Square. And start off by saying I need to make a correction in the labeling of the photo evidence called Seagull Gate Temple Square. It's actually supposed to be the Eagle Gate. And then I give reason why the change is necessary because of the changes to the meaning of the carved symbolism. And so then I go over the symbolism. Start off with the Illuminati. That's their symbol. One eagle, inverted pentagram. And so then I have to then make the connection. How does Brigham Young connect to the Illuminati? And so that's where I bring up the Scottish Rites and Heber C. Kimball's Wikipedia page on Masonry. I go over all of that. So yeah, that's part C with Canandaigua, and go over that whole section in Wikipedia. And then I have a third category, a third Roman numeral for I've got to figure out which one would go where. But Herbert, I've indicted him in all this as a co-conspirator in this one. And we'll then show that the health professionals who said you need to shut down now, way back in the beginning, and Herbert refused to do so, and Nelson refused to do so. And so as a result, all the deaths that have occurred, all of the children, all of Utahns who have contracted this virus, it's the fault of Governor Herbert and Russell M. Nelson. It's not my fault. You guys didn't want to listen to me, so it's not my fault. It's your fault for not listening to me, but it's not my fault. Because I warned you. I told you. Moses said, stay home. We need to stay home. Let this pass over. Church, shut it down. Don't do a partial shutdown. Shut it all down. Kept yelling and screaming over and over, video after video in that beginning. Nope. They just took their time. And so all the deaths to your loved ones, to your friends and family, neighbors, that's who you blame. They chose to cause us suffering. They chose. Don't let them turn it on you now that we're going on to 7 months or 8 months. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. We're going into 8 months. Don't let them rewrite the narrative of how it began. They want to blame you. They want to blame you for not wearing a mask, not socially distancing, when he himself purposely caused it to come into Utah, escalate, and then didn't shut it down quick enough, and then opened it too soon by manipulating the numbers, by lying to us as to how it was handled, and terminating of people who were standing up to Herbert, saying, no, we're not doing this. You can't allow somebody to get a pass on this. Nelson and Herbert don't get a pass. Don't let them get away with this. I'm not. Thus the lawsuit. So the question is, whose side are you on? Because if you're just sitting on your couch watching me from your cell phone, and you're not out there doing anything to voice disapproval, to actively protest, to do lawsuits, or whatever it is you can do that you are capable of doing, you have to do something. You can't just sit on the sidelines for this. Trump purposely drew us into this battle. Herbert Nelson purposely drew us in so that nobody can just sit on the sidelines with this. They're the ones to blame, not you. Make sure you don't lose sight of what they want to change history to be instead. Because you know, Trump will say, oh yeah, China, and it came into America, and I tried to save America by shutting out Muslims. And Democrats, the deep state was really hammering hard on me, and so it was necessary for me to send out the military on the streets during election day to shut down the Democrat deep state coup d'etat of America. They wanted communism or socialism, because I don't know the definition of either. And they wanted to take away the monarchy that has always been in America. Yeah, he will do that. So, alrighty. What do we do, guys? What do we do? So, yeah, like I said, because I won't be able to finish today, hopefully tomorrow, so I can get it. It's still, because it'll be on the docket, but maybe I could still submit the complaint on Monday. We'll have to see. Because if it gets approved and it gets put on the docket, it should be approved. Because it's not a motion. It doesn't require Judge Jenkins for any kind of order of approval. It's just, I'm submitting evidence. And so all I need to do is get it on the docket so that Monday I can then, do the waiver of summons intention that I have planned. So that's what I'm hoping for. And so yes, if you know your calendar dates for Monday, that's Yom Kippur, the Jewish holiest of holy days, the Holy of Holies. That's the Day of Judgment, the Day of Atonement. And notice that it's right after the New Year's, 10 days later, as the 10th letter in the Hebrew alphabet is the Yod. And as I've taught you Paleo-Hebrew, that's the Egyptian hieratic character, or hieroglyph, or from the hieroglyphic character of the Heliopolis creation glyph of heaven, earth, and Father's shoe separating his children in the middle, the Rakia, or air. And so, yeah, when Heavenly Father breathes life into Adam as the first creation, that's him. That's our Heavenly Father, Mormons, not Adam. Brigham. But yes, Adam is the father of Abel, who was murdered by his brother's Cain, just as Osiris was murdered by Set, who is Satan, King Set. So I've been trying to help you guys out here. And what do I get for it? What do I get for it? I stand alone, like the Scorpion King, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Travis Van Goodsell. Well, it's after 6, and I had forgotten to check to make sure it got sent, because this was my first time trying a scheduled send, and it didn't send. So yes, it's sent now. It's now 6:39, and so it was sent a couple minutes or so. So yeah, and the reason why now and not tomorrow, because it says it's the Yom Kippur tomorrow. Travis, you said you were going to do it for Yom Kippur. What are you doing? When does Yom Kippur start for the Jews? Sunset, sunrise. No, and they actually mixed that song around. But yes, at 6 p.m. Utah time, it now became Yom Kippur. It's here. It's now. And it's sent. Nobody else will see it until tomorrow morning when they come into work. And then the leaders of the church will be notified. Holy crap, he did it again! Oh, he's going for the jugular! He knows! I'm putting up the science keys right now. Only the president of the church knows English. Sorry, Mom, I'm going to have to wait for President Nelson to interpret what you're telling me to do. So until then, I'm not going to listen to you. Oh man, this is going to get ugly if people actually start embracing that belief. Karen, what have you done? What are you exposing among Mormons? So, yeah, it is done. I have completed the work. So now we wait and wait and wait and wait. So the waiting process, tomorrow they'll be notified that starting today they have 30 days to return that waiver to me, signed, dated, etc. And then they have 60 days in order to file their reply. And I already put in I should have done a reading of this, I guess, shouldn't I? But I put in there that I'm ready to go to trial. I have the evidence. I'm set. Let's do this. Don't be fooling around with that rare thing you pulled to extort the judges. So, yes, I even have the documentation for that, because that's part of the complaint. I have the evidence for it. So, yeah, everybody's going to know tomorrow. And if you remember the video I did about notifying the co-conspirator landlord's lawyer, saying that I reject their settlement offer from Samantha Hansen, the property manager. as she signed a confession. So, yes, that will be used as evidence now for that particular count. But he was also notified that once I file, that's it. You guys don't get a second settlement offer. Going, and now it's gone. So, if they think they're going to try to pull something off tomorrow, too late. I warned them. I told them. They refused to do anything. And so, yeah, they're in big trouble. Like I said, I've got the evidence. None of this, oh, you don't have a claim upon which relief can be granted, Travis. Like, totally tubular, man. Gag me with a spoon. I was in California in those valley days, Death Valley days. Where were you born, son? Born in East LA, man, I was low rider. So yeah, it'd be great if YouTube weren't sticking the muds and allow me to do little video and music clips that are not copyright protected if they're just little clips and used to help enhance the symbolism of my videos. God, they just will not leave me alone. The church will always be on my back forever. They have to be stopped. There will be no peace until after you die. I don't know Klingon, sorry. I don't even think I should try. I did get the PDF of the Klingon dictionary though, so I'm sure I could figure it out. It does appear from a surface glance that it's an alphabetical language, which, yes, I'm sure aliens have figured out alphabetical languages. Way to go, Gene Roddenberry. So much for the science-based language of the movie Contact. Alrighty, so yeah, that's it. Just updating you.
Are you ready?
Travis Wayne Goodsell. Some curious updates for you regarding the lawsuit against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Corporation, technically. The filing, the waiver of summons to the Curtin McConkie team, even though the clerks had acknowledged receiving it, it has not been put on the docket as a note to the case. But I guess that's not surprising. It doesn't need to be. But I was doing it through all of the different groups so that everybody would be on the same page and know, so that there will be no confusion this time. But I went and checked Gmail. No follow-up on that either. But Weebly has reached out to me. Now my Weebly account has been taken down. It was taken over by Square. Square, as I learned after the fact, thanks to Business Marketplace, or Business Insider, which then became Market Insider. But you still find the church's 100 billion reporting on the Business Insider link, though the page now shows Market Insider. And you have to disable your ad blocker. Yeah, they're trying to monetize it. But the link to the church's investments through Enzyme Peak Associates lists Square. It also lists GoDaddy, which I notice MSNBC, once my Weebly account was disabled, all of a sudden I'm seeing GoDaddy on MSNBC. I'm sure the church had no influence on that whatsoever. But when Square took over, and the day after I filed the first lawsuit, on the 1st of October, 2019, Square says, hey, well, they didn't say anything. I just looked at my regular stats, and all of a sudden, boom, 3,000 became 30. All the previous days, 3,000 views became 30. Oh. They tried to claim, oh, we're now using Google Analytics. Google is also a church investment. And so that may reflect some difference. Some difference? You just collapsed my business. I was using it as a business website. And they refused to budge, refused to acknowledge their error, and destroyed. And so I let the website expire. And so I'm now checking, and it says, hi Travis Wayne, we have recently identified an error with Stripe payment processing, that's Square Stripe, that is impacting your account per your Weebly service plan. No, it's not. You canceled it. It's over. It's done. You've denied it. I can no longer use payments on my website. Yet they're sending me this. A 3% transaction fee should have been charged. A 3% transaction fee should have been charged for each transaction processed, has not been charged when processing through Stripe. On 8/27/20 or shortly thereafter, your account will be accurately charged the 3% transaction fee when processing through Stripe. Before fixing this error, we wanted to inform you of the changes to eliminate any surprises. Our transactions that occur after we have resolved this issue on 8/27 will incur the correct fees. That shouldn't apply to me, but the church is now wanting fees. If they try to go back, because they don't say they're going to go back before the 27th of August, but if they attempt to go back and recover that 3% fee, sorry, oh, you have the wrong credit card. I didn't update it since you canceled it. So yeah, they won't be able to get me. But I did find that very curious that they're trying to claim that I can still receive payments. Bastards. However, somebody had replied. Elohim Chaim. He's wanting my Genesis chapter 1 book. So that's interesting. I'll have to work on that. Have to go through my files to find it. But if that's what he wants, that's what he'll get. So apparently, that's may have been what triggered it, is that he went to my site, still saw the order thing, tried to order it, which is free, but he was unsuccessful, I guess, because my account's shut down. And so then they're saying, oh, we need to charge you 3% on free stuff. Church wants money from you, Travis. How dare you sue them? So, so interesting. There's no. I should have read to you the. Let's go back and do that for you, because I never did a reading of it. All right, waiver of summons. This should be it. Alrighty. Okay, in accordance with Rule 4D1G, I, Travis Wayne Goodsell, am delivering this waiver of summons notification by other reliable means, through email, care of Curtin McConkie, Defense Counsel for the Corporation of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. As previous defense counsel, who have also been included in this notification, care of Curtin McConkie, to ensure delivery of service, as the general email showed up in red as undeliverable, failed to follow the law in case number 219 CV00711 CW by not returning the waiver of summons to the plaintiff. I forgot to do the, well, it's not to the courts, it's to the Curtin McConkie. So yeah, it's not an official court filing, it's just a notification to them. I need to remember to do that in the future. As previous, let's see, by waivers, returning the waiver of summons to the plaintiff, as thus were in default judgment, having not filed a proper and lawful response at all to a submitted court-filed response to the submitted court-filed summons. However, having the previous judges ignore the violation of law to grant defense counsel's motion to dismiss, I, the plaintiff, have also included the federal clerk's office and the assigned unrecused Judge Bruce S. Jenkins to ensure this time there are no judicial errors. Also included is a court conspirator's lawyer, Bob Blumenfeld, as his clients in the previous complaint by the plaintiff, despite being notified of their inclusion in that complaint, nonetheless assaulted the plaintiff in threatening his life, liberty, and property on 2 main occasions during the proceedings. These extra contacts are done to help better ensure the safety and protection of the plaintiff this time, though the defendant's reach extends far beyond to threaten and harass the plaintiff in other ways, as just indicated, as well as on YouTube. Attached, though not in order as the plaintiff would have wanted them to be, are all the necessary documents required by law. There is an identification error in the complaint carried over from the previous complaint, which needs to be corrected. What was identified as the Seagull Gate at Temple Square needs to be the Eagle Gate. The plaintiff does not wish to drop this one piece of evidence, nor the count, as the change in the birds changes the symbol's meaning. The plaintiff is ready to take this case to trial, having all evidence necessary, as he did in the previous case, such that defense counsel's habitual submission of the rarely used, except in order to extort biased judges, unrecused Bruce S. Jenkins, extort biased judges. See what I've done there? Motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted is and will be yet again frivolous. When you go back to listen to my complaint that I filed, the reading of that complaint, you will see what I've done here. This has been presented as evidence. In this case, which the previous case failed to do. So yes, I automatically win again. And so now Bruce S. Jenkins is now under further pressure to recuse himself. The church is on notice to not be allowed to present their motion to dismiss. And if they do, it will be identified in my 14-day response. Plus, remember Bob, or whoever is narking to you, I told you I'm submitting Samantha's confession letter, signed confession letter, in my 14-day response. So, yeah, whatever the church thinks they're going to present to dismiss my case, they're going to get slammed harder this time. Alright, so let's extend this video out, shall we? Travis Wayne Goodsell, 1 degree of separation. Yes, I was a black belt as a few-month-old baby. Yes, I'm just a few months old there, as I'm standing up on the couch. Alrighty. We'll quickly see if there's any comments to go over. I didn't even check to see how many people were viewing it on that. 5 days ago, why aren't you wearing masks and why aren't you 6 feet apart? God.
Oh, we're gonna be soldiers for the Lord. We're gonna convert the world to Satanism.
LDS Last Days Exodus is now up to 562 views. Oh, 30 views. The shortened version that I did first, 94 views in less than a day. So, interesting. Interesting. Oh, God. Also, that's right, I almost forgot to mention. This morning, went out at around 3:40 actually. 3:41. The waxing moon is rising to almost meet Mars. I'm pretty sure it's going to miss. I need to do the videos for the month of October that is this week. There are some things coming up that need to be given attention for you guys. But as I was finishing my run, the moon was then setting on the top of the mountains on the west, and Venus was a no-show through the run until the final lap, where it was now finally at the top of the mountain on the east. And so Sirius was all by itself, beating out Venus. You'll have to go to my other videos to know the meaning of all of that. And so it's still the same, 5 likes to 2, the 2 being the regular Russians who put a thumbs down on everything now as we are entering the election period. And the other 2, because it used to be 4 beginning when they started it, the other 2 have backed off. So now that I know when there's more than 2, where are you? There's a 3 for the October surprise. That third person with the thumbs down is a Mormon hater. just doesn't like me. And we can see the comments, I guess, to see if they've spewed their hate. Nope, nothing on that one. David responded to my 1 degree of separation video. He had gotten to the part where I had the dream about President Hinckley and said he also had a dream. Selena, somebody's responding to Selena. Selena is not, I actually banned Selena. She started to be abusive. She never subscribed. But somebody's responding. If there are not changes, then how come Jesus Christ was where the new God and Moses' law was done away? And with there being no changes, how come they have prophets and apostles and baptisms for the dead and no one else? Lang. First of all, Judaism is not the same religion. And so, yes, it's a different Christ, different things for different religions. But if you broaden it back a bit, then yes, all the Christians are trying to say, oh, there's only one God, it doesn't matter how you worship him or in what way. Well, yeah, it does, Christians. Remember, one faith, one religion, one baptism. Sorry, you can't claim there's multiple ways to God. But they're trying to do that to try to get all Christianity back into the one true order. But, yeah, you can see how Lang has been brainwashed as a result of the Christians' attempt to do that. But he's also going after Mormonism. Not understanding that current Mormonism does not believe they're actually Judaic. Even though the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith make it very clear, learning of the Jews. And in regards to Christianity, they're all an abomination in my sight. They draw near to me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. It's like, God. And so, he doesn't understand. He thinks he's being clever and trying to help and go against Selena, but I've banned Selena, so her comment can never be seen by her, so it's not fair to comment on her comment, guys. Stick to my video. Don't go commenting on other people's comments. So I'm deleting that one. T. McGee with one E. No. You do not teach me on my own channel. You do it on your channel and back off on mine. You will be automatically deleted in this comment, but at the way you start, I'm likely to ban you here. He wants to teach me all about the 10 virgins. It's all about walking in the ways of Christ, which is to walk in the laws. Oh, no. No, T. McGee. So, Mormon, yeah, so he's not even Mormon. He's, yeah, come on, you're way out of your league here. I'm talking to Mormons, dude. Get the right religion first before you think you can attack me. So, yes, Matthew. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. Yeah, he's entering into a realm he will also lose. I do not deal with Christianity, Judaism, other than just a brief comment on my own channel. I do not go to other people's channels who are not Mormon and don't wish to be, and make comments in regards to such. I do not attack other people's religions, dude. But I can if you force me to. Don't do it. I'm warning you. You will not survive. No matter which religion you think is the true religion, you will not like what I have to say about your religion. Don't think that I'm only naively brainwashed into Mormonism. I know other religions. Alrighty, so, yeah, I think we're done. This video went long enough as it is.
Are you ready?
Travis Wayne Goodsill. While I was away today, I got a return email of the waiver of service of summons. So it was Tad, or Taylor, sorry. It looks like Tad on the email because T had Tad. So he's the one that took responsibility to send it back. So they're on the ball on this one. As yeah, very next day. So to recap, the previous lawsuit was about the church having turned my petition for a redress of grievances into a criminal action by calling me a terrorist threat and my petition as a weapon of mass destruction. I was then found not competent because that's what white people are accused of being in a lawsuit, whereas blacks are accused of being terrorists. So I got the best of both worlds. But the judge, of course, because my old missionary companion was a part of the Judas betrayal of me, assigned Dr. Cohn to evaluate me. And Dr. Cohn created a history right there in her report to the judge. I got half of the pages, every other page, so I was able to see the highlights, to see that she was creating a history of me, because I have no history, none. I got to see my parents throw me under the bus, as they said, oh yeah, Travis has seen all these psychiatrists, and oh yeah, and yeah, they lied, no history. That's why I was put in the drunk tank for a long period of time. I was in pre-processing, as the one lady, I couldn't tell if she was flirting with me or if she recognized me or what, but I still had my sunglasses on. The cops didn't take those off. And so that was weird, as she was just staring at me the whole time. Whatever. But yeah, they were searching and searching all over Utah trying to find a history. None. Doesn't exist, guys. And so yeah, Dr. Cohn manufactured a history of disability for me, and recommended that I am not competent to stand trial, when all that it requires is for me to be able to communicate with my lawyer, which I was very capable of communicating with my lawyer, except that Mark Augustine who stabbed me in the back for 30 pieces of silver, was trying to say, oh, you can't go against the church, Travis. Oh, don't do it. No, man, you got to confess and admit that you're guilty. You're wrong, Travis. Oops. And so, yeah, that's why I was thrown down the river in cement shoes. And so, 6 years, Dr. Cohn had me locked up. And drug experimented. I told you about that. How the first time Dr. Vidko tried to claim that my religious fast represented a danger to myself and others, and therefore I needed to be drugged. She lost that argument. And so then Mark Shurtleff said, all right, fine. If they're not going to do what I order, let's do it in the court. We'll get them there. So then my lawyer was able to point out, Your Honor, count number 2 indicates that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is considered a government entity, which it is. But the judge said, okay, ask Mark Shurtleff, she's telling the prosecutor, ask Mark Shurtleff if he wants to drop this charge or if he wants to refile a new charge. They, of course, refiled under a Class B misdemeanor of, like, harassment or some crap. And, yeah, the whole case was being dismantled, so they immediately stopped the court process. And so Mark Shurtleff firmly ordered, get him on drugs. And they complied, and so because I was scary looking, I was forced on drugs. And I found out from my MARs that I got last year, early last year, or in the summertime actually, because it was after, yeah, sure enough, I had found a nurse that I was talking to who knew what the drugs do to the body, and she was aghast about the experimental nature that they were actually trying to cause harm to me. And so not only that, but the last one that I was put on after the one doctor retired resulted in a serious kidney infection in 2015 after I'd been freed for almost 2 years at that point. And yeah, so with that, there was no way I was going to continue to stay on being drugged. And so I had my opportunity in 2016 to say, oh, yeah, no more drugs, I'm out. I'd already been discharged in 2014, but apparently Valley Behavioral Health decided they didn't want me to be discharged, and so they didn't put in my 2014 MARs with my MARs that I also requested. Oops. But it has in 2016 that I discharged myself. And they, of course, weren't happy. They didn't agree, but they acknowledged that I was discharged. And yet, Valley Behavioral Health would not leave me alone and would not let me go. And so the third one, they actually do a discharge when all hell broke loose in 2018, when they tried to pull me back in against my will. So in 2019, that's when the official discharge was put in there. That's why I know about it, is because I requested it and saw it. So yes, I have the evidence for this case with a signed document of confession by the property manager that that's what they've been doing to me. Ta-da! And so that's that part of it. The church part of it is that when I filed the lawsuit, I had found that the church had been paying Dr. Cohn. You can't do that. She was independent of the church, assigned by the judge. But then the church to then pay her after the fact. Oops, that's a no-no. Can't do that. Even if you think it's harmless, you can't do that. That now is a crime. And so I told Judge Furse, who was supposed to recuse herself because she was compromised, but I didn't know she was compromised when she held the hearing of which she was assigned to my case to dismiss my case for on November 1st, 2019, and informed her of the payments from the church to Dr. Cohn. She said, in the audience behind me that was watching, yeah, they all know it's serious. The judge knew it was serious. She said, okay, file an amended complaint, and you have 30 days to do it. So yes, I filed within the 30 days. And so during that, after I had submitted the amended complaint, I then kept checking to see if the church was still paying. I had made a snapshot of whatever you call it, of the website page, showing the transfer of money, and but now it was gone. She had changed her website, no longer showing that the church was paying her. Oh, now we got cover-up. Mormons who may be listening, what does Section 121 say about those who cover up? Exactly. Many are called, but few are chosen. And so, that was reported, but Judge Furse refused to do anything. The church council, I finally found out how to waive the service by doing the process that I had done yesterday, which technically the Jewish day yesterday, starting at 6 p.m. on Sunday, and for Yom Kippur. And the defense counsel didn't do what Taylor, I keeps calling him Thad, what Taylor, Councilman Hadfield, did today. They didn't do that. And the 30 days came and went. Judge Furse did not respond, even after I had notified her of property manager threatening me with eviction with a lease violation on Friday the 13th. Anybody know about the Knights Templar of the York Rites Masons, of whom the Smiths were a part of, versus the Scottish Rites Illuminati of Brigham and Heber C. Kimball? Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball. Yeah. And so that was in that first complaint, that the church had failed to notify us that we're of the wrong masonry lodge. And they should have seen this coming. But because people did not recuse themselves as they needed to recuse themselves, as Judge Waddups should have recused himself, just as Barlow did in this case. But Jenkins also, as I read to you, the filing of the waiver of summons to the lawyers, I put an unrecused Judge Jenkins, and then talked about later about the bias for not recusing. So yes, I know exactly how I'm wording these things, and I knew exactly how I'm filing these things. Back in 2009, when I first filed, I didn't think I'd have enough time because I was sure Trump was going to shut down the government. Little did I know he was planning on ending the world with a coronavirus, just as Moses confronting Pharaoh had a coronavirus right before the Exodus. So I was right, I just didn't know exactly in what manner the government would be shut down or disabled America for. And so it turned out to be this way. And that, of course, plays right into this current lawsuit, as Joseph Smith knew about the sickness. Doctrine and Covenants 4531. So, there you go. That's where we are. This one is for RICO sedition. So, those 2 weeks before it was approved, it was approved the very next day in the first case. Which, since they went to all the trouble to have Judge First dismiss it, which seems kind of ridiculous, because if I filed it wrong, they were supposed to say, this is wrong, refile it, according to the rules of procedure. Here's the rules of procedure if you need to understand what they are. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to stop it at the clerk's desk. And if not, by the appointed judge, who's supposed to say, no, Travis, I'm not accepting this. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to drag it out. And so that plays a big part in that. And so with the coronavirus, which occurred during the midst of the previous lawsuit, and the property manager attacking me with not only the lease violation, but then a follow-up actual eviction while the case is still not decided yet. That takes balls, and she don't have any. But yeah, I was literally attacked in the first case, as nobody did their job right. Thus we have this one. To use the first one to show, yes, they're Illuminati. Their intent purpose is to destroy America. And there's the evidence. The inverted pentagram also. Finding out that it's the Eagle Gate instead of the Seagull Gate. Yeah, that confirms it. Sort of nails the final coffin. You know, so that's it. That's all. So now we got an hour and a half before the presidential debate, which I'll watch, as much as I hate listening to Trump.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
All right, Travis Wayne Goodsoul, we got some breaking news right now online on Google. Google, I've been telling you about for this new lawsuit against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you know, the Mormons, was banning Pacer Monitor from my view. My own case denied to me after I had found it. And so I made sure to have a backup copy of the link so that I can access it as Google continues to deny me access to that link. Well, this morning I was expecting to go to the site, find the defense counsel's return of the waiver of summons in the case, to make sure that everything is going in accordance with proper procedure and protocol. Well, turns out the link is encountering a system problem. The server, upstream server, as Google initially told me, was struggling to connect to the proxy server, and so I thought, well, okay, let's try another of the links, and did the court listener link, and that hasn't been updated yet. It's slower than Pacer Monitor, and so dockets.justia.com, that's also slower, similar to court listener. Something's up. Just a heads up for you guys, something is up. I don't know why, because this is simply a matter of them finally following the law, although it's also a confession that my case is correct, that they didn't follow the law the first time around. Yeah, I've got an error now on Pacer Monitor. We have encountered a system problem with your last request. Our support team has already been notified. Please try again and feel free to email us at support@pacemonitor.com if you continue to experience problems. So, we'll try it again. But it's not working. It just keeps circling and circling and circling and circling and circling. There is something going on. So, yeah, this wasting my time trying to find out. Wow. Stay tuned. We're in fall, as the sky is literally falling, and in the likeness of things on earth.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Travis Wayne Goodsell, this is the reading of the amended complaint that I talked about earlier this morning. For the most part, I included an additional beginning and then went through and made editings where needed through the rest of the body of work. And then I'll resubmit it after this, after I finish this video editing, and then submit it. Then I'll put this video online for you, so that this will be emailed by the time you get this. Alright, nature of the case. If you want to refer back to the previous reading, it's in the playlist. Something to do with the 2020 lawsuit against the LDS Church. Reading has reading in it. Because the first part goes over how they're a criminal organization and design, which is necessary as I go through this. On September 9th, 2020, the plaintiff filed, in accordance with his First Amendment rights, case number 220 CV 00633 BSJ. Magistrate Judge Jared C. Bennett approved the plaintiff's complaint, though 9 days later, during which time the United States Attorney General William Barr spoke to prosecutors encouraging them to file. This is why I do an editing. Encouraging them to file sedition charges against Black Lives Matter protesters. According to the sedition law, which the plaintiff had filed his complaint under, the USAG is required to review it for disposition. Judge David Barlow was first assigned to the case, but recused himself the very next day. Judge Bruce S. Jenkins, however, did not recuse himself, despite his affiliation with the defendant, for which the plaintiff's complaint already included previous judges from case number 219 CV, it needs to be 00, not 99. 00711 CW for sedition complaints. On 8 October 2020, Judge Jenkins ordered the dismissal of the plaintiff's complaint without prejudice. The plaintiff has not yet received in the mail the judge's order to know his reasoning. But the plaintiff suspects it is because the notice of a typo upon service of the complaint upon the defendant, which according to the law for pro se litigants is not to be held against them. The plaintiff is resubmitting his complaint as the court delays and violations of law are acts of treason during a national crisis of a coup d'etat from domestic terrorists acting under orders of foreign terrorists to subjugate America to return to a monarchy, for which the defendant plays a complicit and active role as terrorists themselves. In the 2020 presidential debate, the incumbent national executive, gave orders to white supremacists, and specifically to the white supremacist group Proud Boys, to stand back and stand by. The Proud Boys responded on social media that they understood the call to arms. Then, in the 2020 vice presidential debate, the incumbent vice president likewise signaled white supremacists using the KKK slogan of America First. In the defendant's October 2020 General Conference, their first counselor, Dallin H. Oaks, signaled white supremacists by denouncing the Black Lives Matter protests, placing the authority of murderous cops over the rights of life, liberty, and property to we the people, and ordering victims of authoritative crime, abuse, and murder to sue rather than protest. The plaintiff knows all too well that when those in authority tell their victims to sue if they don't like the abuse, that it is a further bullying threat having the judicial system in their pocket, as no criminal charges can be filed, let's put a comma there, only civil for a slap on the wrist minimal fine. Senator Mitch McConnell has openly refused to send House bills to the floor of the Senate for a vote, but has placed a record number of all white supremacist judges on the benches throughout the nation for the expressed purpose to destroy the constitutional rights of we the people. It is not politics, it's treason. The defendant is aiding and abetting in this treason with their push with evangelicals in their religious freedom movement. Religion is already protected under the First Amendment, so the only reason to increase freedom is to take freedom from others to subjugate victims, of all types of discrimination and criminal abuse. The plaintiff is Mormon of the defendant, who claims true succession from the founder Joseph Smith Jr. Joseph Smith told of a day when the United States Constitution would be in jeopardy as our government would be under attack. Former CEO of the defendant and former United States Secretary of Agriculture Ezra Taft Benson told BYU students at a devotional that the Constitution would not be saved in Washington, meaning America would fail to save America from the coming, i.e. current, threat. In Joseph Smith's Book of Mormon, in 1 Nephi 1, there is the coded future date when the future coup d'etat would occur. Word does not put the little slash above the E, so it distracted me when I had to spell it correctly. In Joseph Smith's Doctrine and Covenants, section 45, verse 31, and 103, verse 16, he adds the date for when this enemy would unleash a viral weapon of mass destruction. The enemy has been the same since the threat to America. The enemy is the same The enemy is the same since the who threatened America in September 1826 in Canandaigua, New York, which was prevented thanks to a reporter who triggered the anti-Mason movement. As the real American hero, the master mason of Canandaigua Lodge, Joseph Smith Sr., orchestrated the rescue of Captain William Morgan and took over the publication of his book. Of his warning book. Of his book to warn the American people. Titling, not titling, I hope. I don't think there's a word called titling, so I'm sure it's titling. Titling it the Book of Mormon. But this enemy threat found out who caused their delay and ended up assassinating Joseph Smith Jr. and his brother Hiram, as Joseph was running as the first abolitionist presidential candidate for the United States. To give tribute the enemy built. So this is why I do this video editing. To give tribute, the enemy built a temple in Nauvoo, Illinois, with the symbolism of their triumph, dedicated on 1st of May, 1846, the anniversary of the terrorist enemy, the Illuminati, organized in 1776. Brigham Young's son, Don Carlos, sculpted his father's homestead Eagle Gate, made sure to correct all those, entrance to identify Brigham as Illuminati, as the Salt Lake and Logan temples likewise included the Illuminati sign, to follow the Book of Helaman, 622, in the Book of Mormon. It is for this very reason that all judges of this court who are affiliated or compromised by the defendant must recuse themselves, as Judge Barlow did with case number 220 CV 00633 BSJ, whereas Judge Jenkins refused to recuse himself. Because of this court's deliberate delays, it is now too late for the plaintiff to save America, through the due process of the courts, as the defendant likewise gets an even greater extension to reply, to cause further delays, to extort this court to again find frivolous and criminal false cause, to dismiss the plaintiff's complaint. Judge Waddups falsely claimed the plaintiff used the abusive ad hominem fallacy against the defendant by presenting the defendant's own carved-in-stone symbol at Temple Square, being denied going to trial to present the case. The current national executive has already issued orders to declare martial law on Election Day, which white supremacists await to assist armed service members, as they've been doing against peaceful, unarmed, even mothers, Black Lives Matter protesters. And just the previous day of this amended complaint, there was an attempted kidnapping and murder of the governor of Michigan by white supremacists acting under the orders of the national executive. Congress failed to find the national executive guilty in his impeachment and are useless to protect America. Democrats give out false and vain hope to get we the people to vote the national executive out of office. I need to put therefore. Democrats therefore give out false and vain hope to we the people to vote the national executive out of office when it's already rigged. When it's already rigged. Hundreds of thousands of ballots have already been discarded, as election tampering and fraud began immediately with the early voting. There is a terrorist group called QAnon, which is backed by Russia, spreading the misinformation about Democrats and Hollywood celebrities who are the deep state, trying to attack the national executive and coup his coup. This deep state is accused of three main areas. Pay attention, Mormons. Being space aliens, 2 being Satanists, and 3 being pedophiles. The defendant fits QAnon's description, as the religious theology is that Mormons are from outer space, near a planet named Kolob. They have... Now, They have the carved sign of the Illuminati's god, Lucifer, the light bearer, who is known as Satan in Mormon theology. And the defendant has had numerous lawsuits over the decades, has numerous lawsuits against them, has had numerous lawsuits against them over the decades for pedophilia by religious leaders and regular Mormons within the Boy Scouts of America, and rapes of children and BYU female students who are capable of attending while still legally a minor, 17, because they're able to skip different in Utah. I didn't grow up in Utah, so I'm not too familiar of it, other than my baby sister did it when my parents moved up here. In the current CEO's first general conference, he announced the defendant was compromised to Russia. Say, no holds barred here. This is the end of the world. Let's just throw it all out. He also, in that first conference, took away the high priesthood generally, which in Mormon theology is necessary for the highest kingdom of afterlife glory. In so doing, Russell M. Nelson placed compromat in return on Mormons. With the coronavirus, Nelson, a medical doctor, has been aiding and abetting in the plot to infect all Americans to likewise place we the people in compromat, which has genocidally murdered over 200,000 Americans, with more than 7 or 8 million infected to date. Okay. Utah has been in red for at least a month, yet the Utah governor and lieutenant governor keep exposing Utahns to the virus, putting money over Utahns' lives. Money for businesses, for corporations like the defendant, over Utahns' lives. The Utah governor's coronavirus website homepage has been declaring the white supremacist slogan of "Stay Strong." Likewise, the defendant's CEO refuses to shut the religious and business operations down, thus doing what the Book of Mormon warns against: murder to get gain. Okay, and then that's the new stuff. Let's see if I can find... count number 1 has been replaced, or not replaced, it's a new count 1 has been made, as everybody else got bumped up a count. It's still the treason. On 8 October 2020, Judge Bruce S. Jenkins, in case 220 CV 00633 BSJ, dismissed the plaintiff's First Amendment petition, knowing he must recuse himself from the case as Judge David Barlow had done. As a result, this court has again delayed the plaintiff's attempt to save America, and as such has aided and abetted the foreign and domestic enemies destroying America, i.e., the defendant. And then let's make sure all the pages are aligned. There were changing of the Seagull to Eagle Gate. and I'm sure my property manager will get notified of this, but I put in this time her signed confession of guilt and her intent to commit further crimes against me. So that will now be added in. As before I couldn't because they filed it after I had already filed the complaint. So now with the amended complaint I can put it in. Alrighty, and then yeah, there's Eagle Gate. And injury, I included after I put in the plaintiff is in financial ruin, all because the defendant is threatened by the plaintiff's support for the founder, Joseph Smith Jr., as a translator. And so I added, the plaintiff is the decipherer of Paleo-Hebrew, and I capitalized the to make sure people understand, the decipherer of ancient Egyptian petroglyphs, resulting in his being the discoverer that the Bible stories derive from translations of the ancient Egyptian petroglyphs. As the defendant is fraudulently spreading themselves as a true success. Okay, so that was the added part there. And then request for relief, there was some editing, but not too much. I included the Attorney General, so let me read it for you. As no amount of money damages can compensate for the injury done to the plaintiff, the organization does not belong to the defendant, as they obtained it fraudulently and with the intent of terroristic activity. The plaintiff, therefore, seeks a vesting of title. That puts the Mountain Meadows Massacre in a whole new twist of light for you, doesn't it? The plaintiff, therefore, seeks a vesting of title of the defendant's corporation to the plaintiff, as would best secure the rights of life, liberty, and property of the plaintiff. A RICO terrorist and treason criminal case would need to be processed. So this is why it was done the first time, sent to Attorney General Barr, because I put it in here. That's my request for relief, to ensure better security and safety in vesting title to the plaintiff, though the plaintiff has no confidence in the present U.S. Attorney General for his acts of treason. So yes, I'm well aware that they will turn on me and call me the treasonous one. They've done it before. Why would they stop now? But at least this will be on record. At least I'm doing something to save America. At least I'm doing something to save you guys. Alright, so again, I'll email it off and then do this video for you.
Are you ready?
Travis Wayne Goodsell. This is an update. I'm going to make it quick and I'm going back to bed. My amended complaint was approved as it's been filed in the system. And so now I'll submit the second waiver of summons or waiver of service, yeah, same thing, to the defense counsel again. We'll do that today, I guess. There's a note that was put on here. It says email filing is provisionally allowed during the current pandemic crisis and will only continue with an order by the assigned judge once the court returns to normal operations. Yeah, well, we're not getting out of the crisis. That's the whole point. Because we're under attack by our own government and the church. Now, interesting though, it says by the assigned judge. Remember, I added Bruce S. Jenkins to the complaint. They now have to recuse themselves because they're now a part of the complaint. So that's the beauty of it. But he did not file his recusal on Friday either. And he seems to want to take a couple of weeks before he replies. This is this, and that is that. Yeah. Recuse yourself.
The Constitution will not be saved in Washington. The Constitution will not be saved in Washington. The Constitution will not be saved in Washington.
Are you ready?
Travis Wayne Goodsell. Update to the lawsuit. The defense counsel did not return this time. Let me check again. Okay, yeah. There's Thad. As I go by his email. So, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, that's the one I recently did 4 days ago. And he has not returned the waiver of summons this time. Very interesting. So he's not doing it as quickly as last time. Because I would have expected it to be sometime in the afternoon today. So maybe he's waiting for orders from the leaders of the church, his clients. And I would assume that would be what it's for. That he can't do anything unless after consulting with his clients. So, interesting. So they want time to examine the new information. So let's go over the new information with you then. Let's see, I've already got it up here on the screen, so we'll just go off of this. And there's the amended. Okay. And okay, the corporate structure still the same. Nature of the case. So this was new. And so on September 9th, 2020, the plaintiff filed in accordance with his First Amendment rights, case number 20-006-33, Magistrate Judge Jared C. Bennett, approved the plaintiff's complaint, though 9 days later, during which time the United States Attorney General William Barr spoke to prosecutors, encouraging them to file sedition charges against Black Lives Matter protesters. I just caught it. Because I go after Oaks also for his conference where he attacks Black Lives Matter protesters as well, saying if they are upset that they need to take them to court. Oh, that is brilliant, Travis. Wow. I amaze even myself sometimes. Wow. Didn't even think of that. Huh. So, interesting. This time around, it was approved because I filed it under the old number because that's what the order told me to do. Similar to the last time where Judge First ordered me to amend it, and I did under the same thing. So, interesting. So yeah, I think they're wanting to go over the changes because the nature of the case really sets up a... Wow. Okay. And then Judge David Barlow was first assigned to the case but recused himself the very next day. Judge Bruce S. Jenkins, however, did not recuse himself despite his affiliation with the defendant, for which the plaintiff's complaint already included previous judges from case number 219-00711 for sedition complaints. On 8 October 2020, Judge Jenkins ordered the dismissal of the plaintiff's complaint without prejudice. The plaintiff has not yet received in the mail the judge's order, but plaintiff suspects it is because of the notice of a typo upon service of the complaint upon the defendant, which according to the law for pro se litigants is not to be held against them. The plaintiff is submitting his complaint as the court delays and violations of law are acts of treason during a national crisis of a coup d'etat from domestic terrorists acting under orders of foreign terrorists to subjugate America to return to a monarchy. Yeah, so, yeah, wow. I don't memorize, so I sometimes surprise myself with what I previously wrote. Wow. For which the defendant plays a complicit and active role as terrorists themselves. You wanted me to take it to court, did you, Oaks? And then I get into the presidential debate where the national executive, I do not call him by name, gave orders to white supremacists and specifically to the white supremacist group Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. When he was specifically asked, will you tell them to stand down? Nope. And then the Proud Boys responded. And 2020 vice presidential debate held right here in Utah. The vice presidential incumbent likewise signaled white supremacists using the KKK slogan of America First. Yeah, they're going to take some time on this one, it looks like. And most likely deal with it tomorrow at around 10 a.m., depending on whether Bednar has to participate in the G20 religious thing forum held in Saudi Arabia, a known enemy of America. And so, yeah, their connection to terrorism is confirmed. plaintiff is Mormon of the defendant, who claims true succession of the founder, Joseph Smith Jr. Joseph Smith told of a day when the United States Constitution would be in jeopardy as our government would be under attack. Former CEO of the defendant and former United States Secretary of Agriculture Ezra Taft Benson told BYU students at a devotional that the Constitution would not be saved in Washington, meaning America would fail to save America from the coming, i.e. current, threat. We're not going to win this election, guys. We're not going to save America. It ain't coming. In Joseph Smith's Book of Mormon, and here I go, 1 Nephi 1, there is the coded future date when the future coup d'etat would occur. In Joseph's Doctrine and Covenants, section 4531. So they're probably searching their scriptures now. How did he get the date? What's the date? How does he figure that out? Where is he getting this from? Coded? I don't understand. Are there anybody left, Ballard, who remember the decoding that was necessary for the Doctrine and Covenants? Are you able to do it again? Are you able to get the ones you missed? Such as the Book of Mormon? In Joseph Smith's Doctrine and Covenants, 4531. Oh, another one Ballard missed. And 10316, he adds the date for when this enemy would unleash a viral weapon of mass destruction. The enemy is the same who threatened America in September 1826 in Canandaigua, New York, which was prevented thanks to a reporter who triggered the anti-Mason movement. As the real American hero, the master mason of Canandaigua Lodge, Joseph Smith Sr., orchestrated the rescue of Captain William Morgan and took over the publication of his book to warn the American people, titling it The Book of Mormon. Yeah, they're taking their time on this one. Yeah, they now have yeah, this is going to come as a big shock to them. Okay, so, and I did the full reading in the reading playlist of the 2020 lawsuit. There's a other reading of the older lawsuit. Make sure you get the new one, the 2021. But, yep, to give tribute, the enemy built a temple in Nauvoo, Illinois, with the symbolism of their triumph, dedicated on 1 May 1846, the anniversary of the terrorist enemy, the Illuminati, organized in 1776. And so here I explain the Eagle Gate, which I corrected, which I said, I suspect it's because of this that my case was dismissed. But Brigham Young's son, Don Carlos, sculpted his father's homestead Eagle Gate entrance to identify Brigham as Illuminati, as the Salt Lake and Logan temples likewise included the Illuminati sign. To follow the Book of Mormon, Helaman 622, the Book of Helaman 622 in the Book of Mormon. It is for this reason that all judges of this court who are affiliated or compromised by the defendant must recuse themselves, as Judge Barlow did, whereas Judge Jenkins refused to recuse himself. Do you not understand, guys, how serious this is? This isn't stuff I'm making up. This is factual, historical information that I, single-handedly, have connected the church to. Whereas all other church historians are dabbling in, oh, Joseph was practicing witchcraft. Oh, Joseph was a polygamist in secret. No, guys. It's much more serious than this. It's the fate of our nation. And it wasn't Joseph Smith. He was the one that saved it back in 1826. How do I get it to the masses? So, I really hit them hard this time. Good Good for me. Alrighty. So, yeah, there won't be anything on the court unless Judge Jenkins chooses to recuse himself. The thing is that I think Trump will destroy America before I can get anybody to respond on this case. They're going to purposely drag it on. So we'll see. And here I thought I was just going to be a distracted showpiece on the internet, going up against the church way back in 2019. But the church immediately shut down my website to prevent me from setting the whole thing up, to let everybody know. And as a result, I thought, okay, well, the Gaddy versus Kate Birmingham, I thought she was going to do something, and having followed her case, she's getting her butt kicked. The church is just stringing her along with the judges, and so yeah, I'm the one that's going to save the world like Joseph Smith Sr. Oh dear God, it is ugly. Yeah, it's ugly. The news, listening to what Trump, I told you, he had to die. If he gets the virus, he has to die. He's all the risk factors of serious higher percentiles, and now he's cured. You don't get cured without a vaccine. He's declaring to everyone he was given the vaccine. This was a cover stunt because little sweet Hope Hicks, oops, he blew his cover, and I knew somebody was going to blow his cover one day. And I told you, he has the vaccine. And guess who else has the vaccine? Nelson? Are you wanting a one-on-one visit with me? Face to face? Yeah, well, it ain't gonna happen.
Are you ready?
Travis Wingate, so. Well, the Defense Counsel for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the corporation of the president, did it again. They did it again. And this time it's worse, because this time the amended complaint puts the judge in the complaint, which means he has no choice but to recuse himself. He cannot decide over a case where he is in the complaint. And he hasn't given his judgment on that yet. At least not before noon today. But the defense counsel had their assistant email me. They emailed this time the certificate of service. So they did that part right, but they did not return the waiver of summons. They have to do the second one, just like I had to fill it out in order to serve them the second time, because the first one was dismissed. And so they can't do this. And now there's a whole list of reasons of what they did wrong, but it's a distraction, because if I fall for it, then I accept Judge Jenkins not recusing himself. And so then he can then say, oh, well, okay, he's fine with me staying on to judge myself. So, yeah, the manner in which I will be responding, and I'll have to work on it tomorrow morning, it looks like. So, That gets to be the new moon sign, I guess. God damn it all to hell. I'm really wanting something else to be the likeness of things on the earth. He's just not doing it. He's abandoned me. I'm doing this alone. And so, yeah, they sent me also their notification that they are in the case and the motion to dismiss, not failing to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. And they just quote my thing saying, oh, he said this, and we don't understand it. He said this, we don't understand it. What they're doing is giving an extortion threat to Judge Jenkins, giving him justification to say, I dismiss this case. But he can't. He's in it. He's number one now. And so their whole motion to dismiss, which is not supposed to be done first, they're supposed to give a reply to my case, not a motion to dismiss by reason of not insufficient claim to whatever. That's not the process. And yet this is what they do every single time, because it's a Mormon judge. They just say, oh, motion to dismiss, failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. And then the judge says, oh, okay, that's my way out. Great, church saved. And so nobody can sue the church. Oaks, are you listening? You know all this. So, yeah, I'll have to add, and so I'll have to do another one. Another amendment is what it'll have to be. Because Judge Jenkins failed to recuse himself, and now I have to add the defense counsel who are abusing the court, who are threatening the judges, extorting the judges to conform and to comply, denying people their First Amendment right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So that's probably what I'll have to do now. And they'll have to get their own lawyers. But yeah, so who do I send it to? I guess they'll be representing themselves as far as I know, because they are legal appointees. So until they tell me otherwise, I'll send it back to them as the defense counsel for themselves. For the church. I mean, this is just getting absurd. But I will not back down this time. They cannot get away with this. This is absurd. I have a legitimate claim, and it just keeps piling up. And they just don't want me to redress grievances. So, yeah. God damn them. So, yeah, tomorrow morning, expect to see their edition on the docket. And, yeah, my complaint against them is that extortion of a federal judge and failure to follow judicial court processes and procedures. And wow, and just unbelievable that they brazenly think that they're just going to get away with this. This is sedition, guys. You don't want to tamper with sedition. And yet they do. Yet they do. So, unbelievable. Okay. And it's just like they were saying